Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Charles Xavier had a dream about humanity and mutant kind living in peace. It took some decades, but that dream finally became a reality. Today on Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, I, the Uncanny Omar, am going to be giving you an advanced look at the X-Men Age of Krakoa, Dawn of X Omnibus Volume 1. We're going to be talking about the mapping, the build, the stories in here, and look at all the extras of this book. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on September 30th or October 1st, depending on where you get your books. And what we are looking at here is the very first Dawn of X, the Krakoa era of X-Men, Volume 1. This is the standard cover. This is the one that is supplied by Lionel Francis Yu. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover. That one is supplied by Russell Dauterman. And I want you to note that there is no difference in the spine or the design of the dust jacket outside of that cover. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. So let's take a look back at this book right here. This is, of course, the new team of X-Men during Jonathan Hickman's era. And then, speaking of Hickman, here you have the top billing. You have Hickman, Yu, Dugan, Lowly, Percy, Casada, Kubert, Howard, Toe, Brisson, Reyes, Hill, and Kudransky. The Marvel logo, Volume 1. This is very similar to the design of the anthology series. That's why it looks like this, the Marvel Omnibus logo. And, of course, Tom Mueller designing this. Age of Krakoa. X-Men logo there, Dawn of X, Volume 1. We have a Volume 2 coming out next year. And then the back of the book with some Krakoan language. The same kind of design that we've had before. What's collected in here, the ISBN, parental advisory, mainly due to the X-Force and Fallen Angels and Wolverine. And that's just due to violence. Now, one of the most important things to take out of this video, please, is that this isn't really the beginning of this era. This is the House and Powers of X oversized hardcover. It's not an omnibus, but this is the way it will look on your shelf. You've got House and Powers of X, and then Dawn of X 1, and then 2, and hopefully we'll get some more later down the road, like X of Swords. This will be reprinted in November. Both covers, in case you're trying to find it right now, it is out of print, but it will come back in November. I did ask them to add this into this book, but I think they had already mapped it as the reasoning why, and they figured this is more of an event, so they're just going to reprint it. So at least we're getting that. You're not missing out on anything come November. So let's take the action back to this. Let's look underneath the dust jacket. We've got the flaps here, beginning an acclaimed era of X Comics, and then the bio on the creators. But not much of a bio, just what else they've worked on in the past. This gives you an idea of what exactly Krakoa is. The Dawn of X logo there, the spine, and then the Dawn of X logo there. So we are going to crack this omnibus open and talk about the stories found in here, look at this artwork, look at the build, look at the mapping, look at the extras, and yeah, tell you what exactly you need to know maybe before this and around the era of the House and Powers of X to get you ready for this. Let's go ahead and get this big book opened. Here's your end sheets. And that image again from Lionel Francis Yu. And then the credits for the single issues that are collected through here. This is not the way it's mapped. Don't sweat that. I promise. I'm going to talk about the mapping here in a little bit. But this does give you a breakdown of the writers and the artists, the pencilers, inkers, colorists, letterers. So Jonathan Hickman, of course. You've got Jerry Dugan. You've got Tini Howard. You've got Ed Brisson, Benjamin Percy, and Brian Hill taking the top billing for the writing. And as far as the artists, just putting everyone together, you have Lionel Francis Yu with Jerry Alengolan, the late Jerry, who actually, this is some of his last work, if I'm not mistaken, in the X-Men series. And then you've got R.B. Silva, you've got Matteo Buffagni, Matteo Loli, Michelle Bandini, Lucas Wernick, Stefano Caselli, Marcus Toe, and Wilton Santos, as well as Sean Parsons and Flaviano, Marco Faila, Joshua Cassara, Steven Segovia, and also Adam Kubert and Simon Krudansky. And then, of course, colors from people like Carlos Lopez and Frank D'Armata, and lettering from Joe Sabino and Travis Lanham, just to name a few. So it kicks off with Dawn of X. Let's talk about what's collected in here. Collected in this book is the X-Men. So that is the X-Men that was relaunched after the House and Powers of X. 1 through issue number 7. We've got X-Force 1 through 8. Marauders 1 through 8, Excalibur 1 through 8, Fallen Angels 1 through 6, New Mutants 1 through 7, Wolverine 2 and 3. I'll explain what that means here in a second. Johnny Size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost, and then material from Wolverine 1 and incoming and Marvel Comics 1000. So the material from Wolverine 1, that's the A story, because it was split up into 2 stories. And when we get to Wolverine, I'll explain what that means. Spoilers, because I gotta talk about this era. There are some things that have changed. If you haven't read X-Men in 10 years, 5 years, 30 years, 40 years, however long you've stayed away from X-Men, X-Men, as you know, is constantly changing. By the way, the book has 1,400 pages. But I do have to talk about some spoilers. Okay, after House and Powers of X, there have been some laws established. The X-Men, mutant kind, not just X-Men, are all living in their own nation, Krakoa. The same island from Giant Size X-Men 1 is now the nation that they live in. And there comes a cost with that too, which we'll get to in a little bit. So the first book, I'll talk about the mapping here in a second, but I want to talk about how this is kicked off. This is showcasing the new X-Men team, and as you can see here, it's Cyclops. This is kind of like the Summers family team, but it's Cyclops and Jean and Rachel and Cable, and I'll explain why he's young here in a little bit, Vulcan, Corsair, and Wolverine. The reason Cable is young is because in the pages of X-Men Extermination, old Cable got, by young Cable, and young Cable explained why he's there. So that's why young Cable is young Cable during this time. In the very first issue, we see that a battery is being operated by the Children of the Vault, and we see that the X-Men, their job is to go out there and recruit mutants, or get mutants that are in danger. We also see the makings of Orchis. They're coming back. They were the big villains in the pages of House and Powers of X. So we do see some antagonists here that are being introduced through here, like Dr. Smith and Killian Devo, but also the return of Karima Shapandar, the Omega Sentinel, and the roles they will play here. We see the Starjammers that are able to open this portal, because during this time, there are like gateways to Krakoa, and that's all due to those flowers. A bunch of this stuff was established in House and Powers of X, and once you read that, you'll get the hang of this. After issue 1 of X-Men, we go to Marauders number 1. And then Marauders is introducing us to the concept that Kitty Pryde, at the very beginning, cannot go through the portal, even though she's a mutant, because only mutants are allowed to go through these gateway portals. So she's trying to figure out exactly why. And then Emma Frost says, let's take advantage of that. Let's actually use you to rescue fellow mutants from countries that have refused to recognize our young nation. So that's what this kicks off as. And then, of course, there's the whole background story with the Hellfire Club, playing all kinds of games. So in here, she does recruit people like Pyro and Iceman, and also Storm. And eventually, she doesn't want to be called Kitty Pryde anymore. She figures she's earned the name Kate Pryde. And I love that. I love this homage. It's just a really nice throwback to the days of just how badass Kate Pride can be. So from now on, it is Kate Pride, and she will become the Red Queen eventually. We move on to Excalibur. Excalibur's your sword and sorcery type of story. It's where you're going to find characters from the original Excalibur, but also some new players too. So you can see from the cover, you've got Jubilee and Gambit and Rogue, Richter, and this young lady, which we'll talk about here in a second. And who is that guy? That big guy. I'm sure most of you probably know who that is. This starts off with Morgan Le Fay being offended by all of the Krakoan followers because she's part of the other world. So this involves all this magical stories in here. And now we have this character of Betsy Braddock. Now, really quick summary during this time, because a lot changes in X-Men. If you had read Captain Britain, you know that she is the sister of Brian Braddock. She was at one time Captain Britain, and then something horrible happens to her and her eyes. She eventually joins the New Mutants, eventually joining X-Men. And then in the pages of X-Men through the Siege Perilous, because of the Acts of Vengeance storyline, there is a body swap, or at the time it was just a new body for Psylocke, where she wasn't the purple head, well, no, she still had purple hair, but she wasn't the purple-headed British lady. She became an Asian-looking assassin, and that's who Psylocke was all through the 90s. And then in the pages of Adjectiveless X-Men, it was introduced that perhaps it wasn't really that they remade her body, but that they swapped her mind with another woman named Quanon. So Betsy Braddock's mind went into the body of Quanon, and vice versa. Quanon's mind went into the body of Betsy Braddock. Later on, that character died of the legacy virus, came back in the pages of Matt Fraction's run, and then it was established that both Betsy Braddock and Quanon are now two separate beings, and that happened in the Hunt for Wolverine and Bob's Your Uncle. And man, do I love X-Men, and I love soap operas. But it is during this time that she is back in her own body, Betsy Braddock, Brian Braddock's sister. And in here, she will inherit the costume of Captain Britain, because Morgan Le Fay takes Captain Britain as one of her soldiers. So Betsy Braddock, the original Psylocke, just becomes the new Captain Britain. That's where her amazing outfit comes from. And in the first few issues, Rogue is kind of put to sleep. You also have characters in there like Candy Southern. Oh, what's her name? Not Candy Southern, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, Saturnine. This is New Mutants. New Mutants is really interesting too, man. Each one of these just has a different flair to it. I think that's why a lot of people really enjoyed this era of X-Men. New Mutants is Jonathan Hickman and Ed Brisson writing stories about two different sets of characters. So you've got the classic New Mutants like Karma and Wolfsbane and not Mondo, that's Gen X. Cypher, Mirage, and Sunspot, and Magic. And then you've got a couple of Gen Xers here like Mondo and Chamber. Now, what ends up happening is that Bobby, Roberto da Costa, summons his friends, the classic New Mutants, to say, hey, we need to go and get Sam. Because remember, Jonathan Hickman also wrote Avengers. And in the issues of Avengers, Sam was left in the Shi'ar Empire to be with Smasher, marriage and kids. Man, this is almost catching you up to speed with everything else that's going on. But I promise, the way these stories are written, you folks are smart. You read X-Men, it will, fill in all of those missing blanks. And then there are things you'll have questions about, and reading order questions about, and that's where I come in. Yeah! So, he goes to space with his friends, gets with the Starjammers, and the Starjammers take him to space. But we still have characters here on Earth that we'll talk about. That's one side of the story. Go and rescue Cannonball, even though he really doesn't need rescuing. So these New Mutants end up getting arrested, and that's what becomes the Adventures in Space. Now, the issue with New Mutants when it was originally released in trade paperback format, not the anthology series, is that they put all the Jonathan Hickman stuff together and all the Ed Brisson stuff together. So it's like issues 1, 2, 5, and 7. And for me, I was like, I kind of wish they had put Ed Brisson and Jonathan Hickman together, because I think it's more fun if you're taking a break from space adventure to, hey, let's go and help out Beak and Angel. And I'll explain here in a little bit. Then we go back to X-Men number 2, where we're introduced to the Summoner. I swear I'm not going to go through the entire book, but I'm just going to go through the first few issues. But we haven't gotten to a couple of the first few issues yet. Back to Excalibur 2, where we now have Apocalypse calling himself the artist formerly known as. He's using his Krakoan name nowadays. And we've got Jubilee with Shogo there, and Shogo's going to go through his own changes because, again, the magical realm. And in a second here, I'm going to post how this is mapped, and I will put it in the description of the video as well. Now, in the next book is X-Force number 1. Something big happens in X-Force number 1. And this is when I thought, oh, they actually really thought about the mapping when it came to this book. So we just saw a bunch of issues 2, 1 issue 3, and now we go to X-Force 1. If you're thinking, well, why is Excalibur 2 and 3 before 1? Because this is not collected in publishing order. This is collected in the best reading order possible according to the editors. And when I say that, everybody has their own. Peter and I differ in our reading orders. My buddy Tyler also differs in his reading order. And it's kind of like, I think, what happened, probably the editors got together and was like, okay, when does this fit in? Technically, this was published at the same time this issue came out, so really it should be released then. I'm sure it came to be like a back and forth, but I think after reading this series a couple of times and then looking at the book the way it's mapped here, this is perfect. This is... here's the thing. A few things, yes, I would change. Yeah, because I'm just Omar, and I love mapping books. It's what I do. It's what I think about all the time. I don't do it for a living. I don't work for Marvel. But I just love the idea of being able to map everything and nothing left behind. And it feels like that's what they did with this. This really does feel like there was a lot of thought and love put into it. The basic premise of X-Force and why it's here is because there is an assassination on Krakoa. Now, there are new laws, remember, like, because of House and Powers of X, mutants can be revived because of Cerebro and the Five, and really the whole death thing kind of like, it's not as impactful as it once was, but it's still like, wait a second. It's a group of humans that are coming on the island and assassinate somebody. But how did they get on the island? Because no human is supposed to set foot on the island. It's only you can get through the gateways. So it becomes a whole mystery. So these group of people almost operate like a CIA group. And that's where the first issue of X-Force takes us, with one character being assassinated. Immediately after X-Force is where we go to the Fallen Angels. In Fallen Angels, Magneto says the person who was assassinated. This is just, I know I'm speaking in code, but when you read it, you'll see how it makes sense. And you're like, oh, that's why. That's why they talked about, that's why it's mapped like this, because now you can mention who was assassinated. There's a couple of things that are hinted earlier on, but still, you know, it's kind of vague. And honestly, with everybody being so connected, as you'll see here in a little bit, with especially X-Force, because I didn't even talk about that team, I think it is near perfection as to how exactly this is supposed to be read. The story of Fallen Angels, almost said X-Force, is very similar to that of the X-Force team. We've got Psylocke, receiving these mysterious visions. Again, so it has something to do with the eyes. And what it sets out to do is that apparently there's this new digital designer drug called the Overclock. It's created by this unknown entity named Apoth. So she learns that she needs to go there and find out where Apoth is, because apparently Apoth had something important or killed somebody important in her life. So she recruits a couple of members, mainly Young Cable, who we just saw in X-Men 2 and now is here, and then X-23. And they go on this quest for vengeance with her, all about rebirth and butterflies, and it's very imagery heavy, if you will. And then we go back to Marauders. This is where the Hellfire Club starts playing a big part in this. And there's the Red Queen. I love that outfit for Kitty. And we keep going back and forth between issues. Sometimes story arcs are collected together. And I like that. I like when the story arcs are collected together. So before I jump to Wolverine number 1, because I do want to talk a little bit about that, let's talk about the mapping. I'm going to pop it up somewhere here on the screen, the mapping of this book. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. I love this. And then we even have the bonus issues or bonus stories that are collected later on. And this is the other... I'll leave that up for a little bit. And then, like I said, I'll also put it in the description of the video. So Ed Brisson is writing the New Mutants that are still here on Earth, and they're like Boom Boom and characters like Karma, or Glob, that are helping Beak and Angel and their family stay on this farm because of this guy right here. What is his name? El Fuerte or something like that. And then the more you read this, the more characters you'll see appear through this series. So now you'll see characters like Pete Wisdom and Megan appear in the pages of Excalibur, and you're like, oh, wow. And Excalibur really reads a little bit like that Alan Davis and Chris Claremont era of Excalibur, where it doesn't take itself too seriously. And honestly, a book like Excalibur is the reason why I love this type of mapping. When you read Excalibur in the oversized hardcover, there's like 12 issues in volume 1, you feel like you're missing out on other things going on. And that's just the way that Teenie Howard writes, but there were other things going on, and that's explored in between the issues sometimes, like what exactly is going on. You'll see Jean Grey in the pages of X-Men, you'll see Jean Grey in the pages of X-Force, but it's never like, it's not contrary to what the other one is doing. It actually makes sense. And then eventually you will get a new series, the very first ongoing series, because Fallen Angels ends with issue number 6. Really love this issue. This is kind of like how the mutants have their rite of passage, and it's just an awesome issue. It's a Guthrie sibling, and she's getting her rite of passage, jumping over to Excalibur with Jamie Braddock. Yes! The Warwolves come back, and this is the first appearance of Amazing Baby! Amazing Baby! Oh, if you're playing Marvel Rivals, my brother loves Amazing Baby. Apparently, so do people that love Marvel Rivals. And then, of course, there's X-Force right here. And then, eventually, we do get a new ongoing series. I think it happens after X-Force number 8, if I'm not mistaken. Because after Fallen... Yeah, there we go. After Fallen Angels is canceled, we get a new ongoing series, Wolverine. Now, I said it's material from Wolverine 1. What does that mean? Well, there were 2 stories in Wolverine 1. We've got the A story, as it's called, and that's the one that's drawn here by Adam Kubert. And we've got the B story. And the A story is the one that's collected here. So it's part of 1, and then also issues 2 and 3. Adam Kubert joining Benjamin Percy. And it starts off with this whole mystery about this drug that the Russian group wants, and it starts off with Wolverine killing maybe his X-Force team, and just not sure exactly what's going on, even though they can come back, but that doesn't matter, right? Like, he's still guilty of killing them, and teaming up with an ex-friend of his, because as you know, Wolverine is friends with everybody. And that's this guy right here, Agent Jeff Bannister. So they're stealing these flowers from Krakoa, and Wolverine is set on a mission to go and find out who's taking them and who the Pell Lady is. Again, teaming up with an old friend, because like I mentioned, Wolverine just knows everybody. And then we've got the Marauders. And how this omnibus wraps up is we have the giant size issue back here. And the giant size issue leads into other giant size issues. Man, do I love this. This is so awesome. Beautiful artwork by Russell Dodderman, who you'll think, oh my gosh, why isn't that guy drawing internal artwork? I know, I miss his internal artwork too. Very much a tribute to that Grant Morrison silent issue, the Nuff Said issue. But this time around, it is Emma Frost and Jean Grey traveling inside the mind of Storm, because something's happened to Storm. She's gotten sick. And the very end reveals how she got sick, exactly. Then the bonus stories. This was such a nice surprise. I remember emailing Marvel, and I'm like, could we please include the Incoming and Marvel 1000? And they did. They added it to the back. The bonus stories of Incoming is just the Bar Sinister. This, again, giving credit right here to Jonathan Hickman and R.B. Silva, and down here, the First Horseman. The First Horseman is only 1 page from Marvel 1000, but this is just setting up Sinister and the type of role that he will play through here, and the kind of scheming that he's doing with the Quiet Council. Over here is the First Horseman, and that is, of course, Apocalypse. The rest of the book, the variant covers. And this time around, the variant covers are all done in a splash page format, or at least I went through the entire book. I did not go through all of the covers, so I kind of skimmed through the covers, but I'm pretty sure none of them are the thumbnail size. Oh, I love this. I love this hidden gem cover by Alan Davis from The Sword is Drawn. So let's skip a little bit through here and looking at some more hidden gems. Yeah, Fallen Angels will end up like with characters like Bling and Husk will join them towards the end, but then the series does end up getting canceled. And these are all the connecting covers right here by Bagley. At one time, the idea was to actually make that into the direct market cover for this, but it would have been like a fold out. Oh my gosh, Mark Brooks, beautiful cover there of Madeline Pryor. And yes, the continuation of this, we saw how it's coming out. Oh, and then you have original art. Cool. We saw that it's coming out, what the contents are. So I can't wait to see how that's mapped. And if it's mapped anything like this, Tumalo, that's his name. I thought it was El Mal or something weird like that. Then you are in for a special treat. Oh, awesome. They collected the Dawn of X trade paperback covers. Because those were different. Those were supplied by R.B. Silva and Pepe Larraz. And there's volume 6. Sewn binding, 1,400 pages, retailing again for $150, printed at the Donley printer, and you can see that there's minimal bleed through happening. It's there, but it's minimal. And let's actually get to a double page spread. Here's one of the double page spreads right here. So it's got some minimal gutter loss. So yes, this is a great freaking mapped book. And also, it will introduce you to all of the different comics that were coming out for Krakoa. I don't know if something like this would work well for something like X-Men, X-Factor, and Wolverine, because they were all doing their own thing. This feels so connected. You'll see Jean jumping between the pages of X-Men over to X-Force, and Beast leading X-Force. I forgot to mention that, although I've done videos on those stories before, I do love the fourth wall breaking of Sam over here when he's talking to Danny. Like, what do you mean I'm not in every New Mutants comic? It's a very Jonathan Hickman thing to do. But, yeah, to me, I think if you haven't had a chance to read any of this, House and Powers of X will give you an idea of what this era is like. This is definitely... this isn't like a taste sampler. This really is the beginning of the Krakoa era where everything just feels connected. If you want to try this out, those anthology trade paperbacks are pretty cheap to kind of get an idea. Because, this is $150. So just in case, maybe it may not be for you. But try it out first, in one of those particular trade paperbacks. They're out of print, but they're pretty cheap nowadays, especially with something like this out. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $250 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in... near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, the build, and the mapping of this Omni. In the comments down below, let me know if this is the way you're going to collect Krakoa, or if you have the trade paperbacks, you're sticking to the creator-centric books, like X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, or the upcoming X-Men by Al Ewing, or X-Men by Jerry Dugan. Love to know all those comments down below. Smash that like button on the way out, and let's hope that Volume 2 is it is right around the corner, but hopefully they'll announce a Volume 3. Call it X of Swords, call it whatever you want to. This is the way I want to see books collected for this era. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.